Okay, there we go. Good.
All right. Okay.
That's normal, just so you know. Happens to me.
I'm here today to share the space with you and to talk about my business of joyful revelations and why I felt it necessary to bring it forward at this time. I saw a need in our community to fill a gap, to fill a hole that we as parents often experience when it comes to connecting with and understanding our children and how they best operate. It's been throughout the course of my oldest son's life, who was born with Down syndrome, and we later realized was on the autism spectrum, that my journey really began, and it is through him and with him that this business was created. He's been my inspiration, and he's been my teacher. And what he taught me how to do was to build a bridge between two worlds. The world that we see around our children and the world that they live within. We can know that child that lives within. We can hear them, we can love them, we can be guided by them, and we have so much to learn from them. If we can accept that energy takes many shapes and many forms, and that our children have the ability to feel and be affected by energy in a way that we do not, then we can understand how important it is that we learn what energy is, how it affects our children in every aspect of our lives, and we can learn how to flow this energy through us for the sake of our children and for their development. You see, our emotions and our thoughts are energy, and they vibrate from us like radio waves. Each a different vibration, each a different frequency, depending upon the attached emotion. So we have this magical gland inside of our brain called the pineal gland, and it is a sender and receiver of thoughts of information. By learning how to access this gland and by raising our vibration to meet that of our child, we can learn to use the gland to communicate with that inner child. And it really is simple, but we tend to overcomplicate things with our egos and our minds. And what we need to learn how to do is reconnect to the stillness, our inner sense of self, our spirit that lives within. Our spirit is our life force. We become human when it enters our body, and our physical body dies when our spirit leaves. It's our compass, gifted to us by the creator of all that is, by God, by universal energy, whatever your term is for that which brings you comfort. We have never been separate. We will never be separate from Source Creator, from God, because we are all derived from that same energy. So if we can understand that our children have a very clear connection to this inner sense of self, but it gets foggy and it gets confusing because they don't have filters of the ego or others within the mind to process off all the energy coming in from the world around them, then we can understand where the confusion and overwhelm arises from. But in the same sense, how uncomplicated it can be to learn how to clear this energy from us and from them. So, we as humans feel all emotions. We feel joy, we feel love, we feel grief and anger. But instead of processing these emotions, especially the lower vibrational emotions of fear and anger and grief, we allow them to stay. And they take home in our bodies and they muddy us up. And what this does is brings in lower discordant vibrational energy into our field. And where like attracts like, we unknowingly attract even more of that same vibration into our field. So when our children feel this, they become agitated and frustrated. They want to run away. They don't want to be touched by us because it feels so discordant and foreign to what they know to be true within. And I know that these concepts can seem pretty overwhelming in the beginning, but it's just energy. And energy can be turned from dark to light. It can be turned from fear to joy and from grief to love. We just need the tools to do this. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you reconnect and learn how to find joy within yourself again, joy within your child, and joy within your family, and to heal that false sense of separation that we all have created. And so how my journey looks, to make this a little bit more relatable, is that over 11 years ago, well, close to 11 years ago, when my oldest son was born, we had this incredibly clear connection between the two of us. But I wasn't consciously aware of the concepts that I just shared with you now. I just knew this child. I knew what he was feeling, I knew what he needed, what he wanted, and because we had this clear connection, I was able to teach him and accelerate his learning. So by the time he was 3 years old, he could sight read over 100 different words. He knew all his colors, he knew his shapes, he knew the alphabet, he could count to 10. The list goes on, and I have it all on video. But what I didn't know, since I didn't understand energy, is that the fear that I held within me, the fear that I had of his teachers not seeing his brilliance the way that I saw it, would actually affect the way that they were able to see him. So they ended up seeing him only as a diagnosis, which was a mirror to my fear. And things just went downhill. That's when autism became really prevalent. This child that was very interactive and had good communication skills, we lost it. Pretty much within the next 3 years, everything that I had taught him, we had lost. Speech declined. And it felt like we were drowning. I'm sure that many of you have felt the same way. And it was like I had a hold of his hand, but we couldn't reach the surface. And so it was through a series of events, many events that happened throughout that course of time in our lives that led me down this path. And it was pretty much a last resort for me to find some semblance of peace that made me go inward, which guided me to start learning about energy and going down this path. And the more I went down this path and the more that I released, learned how to release, and then released these emotions that I've been carrying since the time I was a child, up through the time he was born, and then some. As I released those, this magical thing happened. Not only did I begin to change and feel better and heal, he did too. It was like a light clicked back on. He started smiling again. He started communicating again. Those people that were not a vibrational match to me any longer fell out of our lives. So those teachers that saw him only as a diagnosis, they just magically left and were replaced by beautiful beings of light that could see the truth of who he was like I could. His sense of humor came back. And yes, at the beginning, maybe it was just a deep belly laugh in response to a fart that one of his brothers let. But it was still humor and an emotion that he hadn't shown for a long time. And so that's our journey. And I just wanted to really relate like how it has changed our lives. And he's the one that told me to bring this business forward. I've never been a public person. So it was when I was sitting in meditation, and I often do this after he goes to bed, because you know how it is when kids are awake. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was sitting in meditation, and I asked his presence to be with me, and this is how we communicate a lot. I asked his presence to be with me, and I was asking him some questions, and I was just feeling his presence, because our kids have a huge heart, and they are brilliant. And so I was just kind of basking in his presence. And he said to me, "Mom, I'm ready to be of service. I'm ready to help heal others."
Sorry. Okay.
And I said, "You had. You've already done that, because you healed me." And then because he was consistent, I said, "Okay. These concepts aren't in the mainstream. And nobody's doing this with our kids. There are plenty of magical healers out there, energy healers out there, that do astounding work. It'd be awesome. But nobody's focused on our children. And what I've really learned, and believe with all my heart, is that our children come here with this purpose to heal us. And so we just need to honor that. So, sorry for the meltdown. And I don't really think this worked the whole time. Yeah. So, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to ask. So, and if you're wondering how it works and how we do this, part of the reason why I broke down is because I can feel a lot of you resonating with the pain. Because I'm also an empathic energy healer. I used to work in a hospital. I used to be a cardiac sonographer. I used to be pretty normal before I went down this path. And in order for us to communicate in this way with our children and to really see them and know their divine light, we have some healing to do. And when I work with a person one-on-one, I take you through a short meditation. One, to learn what energy is, how to feel it, how to ground yourself, because that's incredibly important for our children. Most of the time they're not grounded. And how to reconnect to your spirit, because that's where the peace, that's where you gain peace, and that's where all your power comes from, because it is of God. Which is why our children don't feel safe in the world around them. That's why they withdraw and go inward, because it feels so much better than anywhere else. But what we have to learn how to do is reconnect ourselves, so we know that feeling and we can share that with them. And the more that they see us in that state of really feeling connected, then they are more able to identify with us. And then we can help them feel more safe. Because then you'll feel the disconnect in the energy around you as well. And then you'll learn that's when you start to learn how to clear that energy from you, from your child, and communicate in this different way. And so as I'm teaching those things, I'm also feeling into your energy systems, and I can feel where the trapped pain and emotion is located in your body. I'll feel it. It's like a mirror to me. I feel it in my own body. And then I often get words or some type of knowing what that emotion is stemming from, whether it's a childhood thing or whatever. And I bring your awareness there, because my goal isn't to do this for you, but to teach you how to do this yourself. Really empowering you guys to do this for yourself, so you can do it for your child and for your family. And so I bring your awareness there, we identify it, and then I just lift it up and out. And then once we get some of the gunk out of the way and learn these things, then I bring your child in and teach you how to either feel them. Everybody's different. You either feel them, you may hear them, you may get images in your mind. And it may not be in the beginning when you're sitting in meditation. It may just be when you're in the kitchen, not so focused on it, because you're more relaxed and it's easier for them to send things to you. But our children are amazing and brilliant at this type of communication. It's so much easier for them. It just makes more sense, because there aren't any distractions or attachments to the communication. It's just truth, because you're sending from your spirit. So